Fellow Canadians, have you ever been scrolling on YouTube and been intrigued by a video that is supposed to talk about Canadians and how they live here in Canada? And you click on the video, much to your horror and chagrin, the video is totally unrealistic about how we say things, how we as Canadians act, how we live. Today I'm going to be talking about 5 myths for people living in Canada, for Canadians, for the country of Canada. Some of those myths actually might be proved correct. Some may be totally disproved and actually sound really crazy to Canadians. Then I'm going to talk about 5 facts. Just tidbits of knowledge you can know about Canada that may make you think it's a really cool place to live, or make you scratch your head and wonder, why on earth do Canadians do that? So without further ado, we're going to get into today's video. The first myth of 5 is a really common one we hear from those who aren't Canadian. It's the age-old question of about and about. It is about. About is a noun. About is a preposition. But for some odd reason, people think Canadians say about, even when they hear you. It's just not something they think, but when you actually say it, they think you're saying about. So this is one that's, I feel, might actually be correct, depending on what region you're from. I've had people tell me that when I say about, they think it sounds like a boot. And when people have heard my dad say about, they think it sounds like a boot. But some of those people who think I say a boot, when they hear other Canadians say it, it sounds normally like about to them. So that myth might actually be correct, depending on what region you're from. But if you want to keep Canadians happy, don't tell them even if it sounds like a boot, because they are for sure saying about. Secondly, the wonderful word, sorry. Yes, Canadians say it. Actually, I watched a video one time, and one person in it said sorry, and it was actually really awkward for me watching it because the other person in the video didn't say sorry as well. Just say sorry. It's a polite phrase, even if it's not your fault, even if it's not your problem, even if it's not your situation, just say sorry. Thirdly, I do not know your friend who lives in Toronto or Ottawa or Quebec City. I really don't. Canada is a really big country, and sure, we actually live really close to the border, but we don't all know each other. That's just a fact of life in Canada. We don't expect anybody in the States to really know anybody we know in the States. So it's the same here in Canada. We don't know your friend. Sorry. Number 4. Not all Canadians speak French. And depending on what part of the country, if you're planning on moving to Canada, you're planning to move to, it might be a good idea to learn French. But if you're moving to an area, do some research first. No? Good language to know, but it's not necessarily something you need to know to live in Canada. Depending on what part you're living in, though. The last myth. Myth number 5 we're going to talk about is we don't all ride snowmobiles. My family doesn't even own a snowmobile. And honestly, snowmobiles, for the most part, are used for recreation. In some parts of Canada, yes, transportation, but we use cars and trucks just like all the rest of you in a country that doesn't have a lot of snow. And a lot of parts of Canada don't have snow year-round. Well, you know, if you go up north, you're going to deal with a lot more snow than down in the southern parts of Canada. But we definitely don't have snow year-round in most parts. So, snowmobiles as transportation, not everybody owns them. And in most parts of Canada, they're not necessary for transportation. So those were our 5 myths. Some of them might have sounded new to you guys. Some of them, if you're Canadian, you're like, yes, I have heard that. And it frustrates me. But those are the 5 myths. Now we move on to the 5 fun facts about Canadians and Canada. The first one is our size. We have some really good neighbors, the United States of America, and it's really cool. Canada is bigger than the US. Canada is the second biggest country in the world. That's pretty good because there's a lot of countries in the world, so to be second, that's pretty sweet. Our second fact is we speak English just like Americans, but we write it slightly different. We love to throw U's into words that don't really need them, but for us, it's completely normal. So when we see Americans not writing the U's, their written English looks different than ours. Another interesting fact about Canada is that if you're visiting the States, they might not necessarily know where you live. Just this past spring, I was in the States, and I would say what province I was from, and it would be kind of like, where did you say you're from? Huh? So that was a little interesting fact. People hear about Canada, but the specific provinces, a little less well known. So our 4th and our 5th fact about Canada kind of merged together, and it's a really unique one that makes Canada really cool. In Canada, we don't have to pay for our gas until after we put it in the vehicle. When my family was traveling in the States, you have to pay for your gas before you put it in your vehicle. But here in Canada, we pump it into our car and then we go and pay for it. So that one can be kind of debating of, is America's system better or is Canada's system better for that? I don't know. And our 5th fact about Canada is one that also goes along with the system of trust, is we have stands that farmers and gardeners will put at the end of their driveway and sell vegetables. The highway passes by, people can stop by, buy their vegetables. The one twist to that is there's not people manning those vegetable stands. There's either a container with people to put money in it, and we just trust each other that you're not going to steal, and that's how it works. So let me know in the comments down below what your country does different than Canada, or if you're Canadian, let me know if your region does something different than my region of Canada. I'd love to hear, and have a great day.